Have you ever considered the role that information plays in our day-to-day life? Have you ever wondered how certain information has affected your decision-making or even influenced your personal life? Information permeates every area of our life, from watching the news on television to reading books and social media posts and everything in between. Wherever we turn, we are confronted with new facts, images, and stories, and are then left to make sense of it all. Today we will take a deeper look into what the concept of information means and how it shapes our outlook on the world. Before we discuss the various situations in which we encounter information and how our brains typically respond to it, it is first important to define what a broad term like information even means. While this concept cannot be explained by a singular definition, many choose to define information as a practice based on the building blocks of data, information, knowledge, and finally wisdom. This idea of building blocks relates that information is not a singular thing, but rather an umbrella term for the process of learning a new concept, researching it further, and adding context before finally committing this idea to memory. The most important function of information in our society is its ability to influence individual behavior. Because of this, it is necessary for us to be able to distinguish the difference between accurate content and content that has either been generated and shared with malicious intent or that has been innocently misinterpreted. These two forms of inaccurate information fall into two categories: misinformation and disinformation. While misinformation is false knowledge shared accidentally, disinformation is spread intentionally with the hopes of producing some kind of response. While the intention behind each is important to consider, it is also vital to acknowledge that any kind of inaccurate information, shared intentionally or otherwise, can have a real effect on our world. An example of how false information can have a real-world influence can be seen through the actions of IRA members, aka Russian trolls, and the role they played in the political division of America before and after the 2016 presidential election. An article entitled "How Russian Trolls Used Meme Warfare to Divide America" by Thompson and Lepowski tells how the IRA used things seemingly as small as social media posts, videos, and memes that when combined culminated in an operation that was deeply sophisticated, and at times, downright funny, and was ultimately successful in its attempt to divide a nation. The IRA's operation is a primary example of the damage that can result from the spread of misinformation specifically. By playing on the emotions of individuals from various backgrounds and creating a campaign that weaved together fact with fiction, the IRA was ultimately able to influence American politics in a way that can still be felt today. The question is now, how can we successfully sort out accurate information and disregard misinformed sources to prevent something like this from happening again? This is where the idea of sense-making comes into play. According to computer scientist Kate Starbird, when we are under stress and feel anxiety over a certain situation, the natural response for our brains is to make sense of the situation as quickly as possible to relieve that stress. The problem is, though, that during this process of sense-making, which includes gathering information, making connections, and formulating final opinions, we do not always retain the most accurate information and tend also to rely more heavily on emotional truths than factual evidence. So how can we use the vital process of sense-making while also ensuring that we come to the correct conclusion? One possible solution can be found in the use of the mnemonic SIFT, which instructs individuals to stop, investigate the source, find better coverage, and trace claims, quotes, and media to the original context. Ultimately, the hope is that by following this simple protocol and being selective about the information we allow ourselves to retain, we can ensure we reach the most accurate conclusion rather than being guided solely by emotions and personal bias. We can also think more in depth about our behavior surrounding the way that we seek information. We engage in information-seeking behavior when we actively work towards gaining more knowledge on a particular topic. When engaging in this behavior, though, we again must take care in how we reach our conclusions. Because we are naturally wired to seek out information and to satisfy our curiosity as quickly as possible, we often end up doing something known as satisficing, which means settling for incomplete information solely because this solution calms our immediate concerns. Settling in this way can be detrimental because by doing this we end formulating an opinion without having complete knowledge on a subject. In order to avoid this and to use our resources well in the conquest of accurate information, it is imperative to give yourself time to research and to think critically about the sources you glean from. I hope after learning the vital role that information plays in both our personal lives and in the broader society that you will become a more active participant in the pursuit of knowledge. With these new tools and concepts in mind, you now have the ability to be more conscious of the media you consume, your personal biases, and our human tendency to make hasty decisions. In the end, when it comes to seeking out and processing information, remember to sift and to make the most of the resources available to you.